Tokyo, July 19, 2025. As Japan approaches a critical political juncture, all eyes are on the upcoming House of Councilors Upper House election, scheduled for July 20. This election, the 25th of its kind since the post-war constitution was enacted, is being widely seen as a referendum on Prime Minister Shigeru Ishiba's administration. With economic uncertainty, shifting geopolitical dynamics, and rising social discontent, party leaders across the spectrum are making their final, fervent appeals to voters nationwide. This election will not only determine the composition of the 248-member upper house but also the strength and direction of the ruling coalition led by the Liberal Democratic Party (LDP). For Ishiba, who took office in November 2024 after a fierce leadership contest within the LDP, this vote will test public confidence in his leadership, and may well shape the course of Japanese politics for years to come. The stakes for the Ishiba administration. The 68-year-old Prime Minister Ishiba has spent the last several months trying to distinguish his administration from that of his predecessors. Campaigning under the slogan, "Reform with Responsibility," Ishiba has promised to restore trust in government, address the nation's declining birth rate, and enhance Japan's security posture amid increasing regional tensions. However, critics argue that Ishiba's slow decision-making style and cautious policy approach have left Japan stagnant. His support has wavered among key LDP factions, and the once unified ruling coalition now shows signs of internal friction. With only half of the 248 upper house seats up for grabs this cycle, the LDP is focusing its resources on retaining its majority together with coalition partner Komito. Failing to do so could lead to a legislative gridlock or even pressure for Ishiba's resignation. Campaign trail. Party leaders crisscross the nation. On July 19, the final day of official campaigning, party leaders fanned out across the country in a last-minute blitz to rally support. Prime Minister Ishiba addressed a large crowd at Tokyo's Shinjuku station, calling on voters to give his administration a clear mandate. Japan cannot afford indecision or chaos. What we need is steady reform rooted in realism, Ishiba said, standing on a campaign van flanked by senior LDP lawmakers. Your vote tomorrow will shape Japan's future direction, don't leave that choice to others. Meanwhile, Yukio Edano, leader of the Constitutional Democratic Party (CDP), spoke from Sapporo, where he slammed Ishiba's administration for being timid and reactive. We need a bold alternative that addresses income inequality, invests in childcare, and protects our democracy from erosion, Edano declared to Applause. This election is not just a referendum on Ishiba. It's a chance to reset the system. Other major opposition leaders including Japan Innovation Party (Ishin) Chief Nobuyuki Baba and Communist Party leader Akira Koike also staged rallies, focusing on regional issues, constitutional revision, and the rising cost of living. Key issues dominating the election. Unlike previous elections where security or foreign policy dominated, this year's upper house race is heavily shaped by domestic economic issues and governance reform. 1. The economy. With inflation lingering at 2.8% and the yen stuck at historic lows, many Japanese are feeling the pinch. While the Bank of Japan maintains its ultra-loose monetary policy, concerns about stagnant wages and rising energy prices have sparked criticism of the government's economic management. 2. Social welfare and demographics. Japan's demographic crisis is becoming acute. Voters are demanding stronger policies to support child rearing, improve elder care, and revamp immigration policies. Ishiba has introduced modest childcare subsidies and proposed a review of immigration caps, but many see these as too little, too late. 3. Governance and trust. In the wake of recent political scandals involving bid rigging and bureaucratic collusion under the Abe and Kishida administrations, voters are watching Ishiba's clean government promises closely. His appointments of non-factional ministers won praise from the media, but trust in the political elite remains low. 4. Constitutional reform. The LDP has long advocated amending Japan's pacifist Article 9. While Ishiba has taken a cautious line, promising national debate rather than aggressive change, hardliners within his party are pressing for a more assertive push. This tension is playing out in campaign debates and affecting conservative voter turnout. Youth and women in focus. Interestingly, this election has seen a noticeable uptick in engagement among younger voters and women. With the voting age now set at 18, and digital campaigns targeting social media platforms like TikTok and Instagram, parties are attempting to woo these groups with messages centered on work-life balance, mental health, and climate change. The CDP has emphasized gender equality, with nearly half its candidates being women. Ishin has launched Startup Japan, proposals aimed at giving younger entrepreneurs more opportunities. The LDP, historically weak in appealing to these demographics, has tried to counter this by fielding more female candidates and holding listening sessions across university campuses. Security and foreign policy, a secondary role. Despite heightened tensions with China over the Senkaku Islands and continued North Korean missile provocations, foreign policy has remained somewhat in the background during the campaign. This is largely due to Ishiba's deliberate decision not to inflame security rhetoric, instead focusing on domestic reform. Nevertheless, a surprise joint naval drill between China and Russia near Hokkaido earlier this week has injected some urgency into the discussion. Defense Minister Hiroshi Moriyama, himself up for re-election in Fukushima, warned voters on Friday, security cannot be separated from economic and energy policy. Japan must remain vigilant. What the polls say. Polls conducted by major outlets such as NHK and the Yomiuri Shimbun suggest that the LDP Komeito coalition will likely retain a narrow majority, but it remains unclear whether they can maintain a comfortable margin or secure enough support to advance controversial legislative agendas, such as constitutional revision. The CDP is expected to gain a modest number of seats, especially in urban constituencies, while Ishin may increase its foothold in the Kansai region. The Japanese Communist Party is struggling to maintain relevance amid a growing polarization of the electorate. Voter turnout remains the great unknown. In the 2022 upper house election, turnout was just 52%. Early voting reports suggest higher than usual participation this year, especially among first-time voters and seniors. A defining moment ahead. As Japan prepares for Sunday's vote, a sense of uncertainty, an opportunity, pervades the political landscape. For Prime Minister Ishiba, the results will determine not only the future of his administration but also whether his vision of reform without populism resonates with a society caught between tradition and transition. For the opposition, it's a moment to rebuild and redefine their relevance after a decade of political fragmentation. And for voters, this is a rare chance to influence the nation's course at a time when the world is watching how Japan navigates a new era. The ballots will be cast. The people will speak. And when the results are tallied, the true verdict on the Ishiba administration will be revealed.